Matthew Taylor, Chief Advisor of Political Strategy. Ruth Turner, do you remember her? Mixing with Common Purpose. When you delve into Common Purpose, you come into relation with fraud and corruption, missing money, political agendas, and it leads you in other directions because it led to having a look at the IPPR, the Institute for Public Policy Research, which even the papers blew open as having had £1 million worth of public money. This is another highly political organisation. Pro-EU. This is part of the Common Purpose programme trying to suck children into the EU, saying you can live in Paris, travel to Portugal, it's all wonderful. But they don't tell the truth, they just give a pro-European view. They're not allowed by law to be political. These are some quotes by Common Purpose people. Now I'm going to take your mind a step further. Common Purpose is not just about doing a course about leadership. Common Purpose is about doing a course which changes the way you think. If I said to you, I'm going to a Moonies meeting tomorrow, I wonder if any of you would like to come with me, I would guess that most of you would refuse because you know that the Moonies are a cult and you know that cults can take people and change them. Some young people are changed so much they don't want to see their families, they give up all their wealth. It's real, it can be done. This is a very insidious organisation because it's using cult-type techniques for a political purpose. And we have got people who have come to us who have been depressed, who are extremely anxious, who are in a horrible state as a result of doing these courses. This lady, the chief executive of Lloyd's, gives you a hint. Common Purpose is no easy ride. It challenges every personal and professional prejudice you have. Well, most people, I don't believe, start off with prejudice. They start off with views. But according to Common Purpose, you've got prejudices, and Common Purpose is going to deal with them. And this lady tells you it unsettled her. I can tell you that a lot of senior people who've got involved with Common Purpose have gone on to have some form of mental problem. Maria Wallace disappeared and was not particularly well, and that's reported by people close to her. Bishop of Exeter is another one. Just more quotes. I'm going to jump through some bits. Very big companies involved, Vodafone. But we started to see some information saying that not only did Common Purpose have a cell network set up across UK, but they were now starting to link UK with Europe. And this little paper says, I work for Common Purpose International. Does that ring a bell with anybody? Common Purpose International. It's remarkably close to the Communist Party International. I work with Common Purpose International as a development director, and basically we are setting up with links with France, and they're linking with Lille in France, and they're starting to join together the networks of Common Purpose leaders. So your local democratic government is being hollowed out from the inside, whilst these people talk to each other not only across UK, but now over into Europe. We've got other documents which show exactly what they're doing. Here's the big guns. Deborah Hermer, Press Office, Prime Minister's Office. She says, it was the most stretching and thought-provoking course I've ever been on. Too right, because she's had her brain scrambled. We've got people who are saying Common Purpose changed my whole world. And boy, do they like children. So this is yet another course. This isn't crossed out, by the way, somebody did a highlighter on it. This programme targets young people who have already shown evidence of leadership skills in civil society. Perhaps I'm getting old, but it seems to me that children at the moment lack the basics of leadership. They're not showing leadership skills, they're showing signs of being out of control, losing values. So what is this political charity doing playing with school children's? I think we're going to need to change the tape fairly shortly. So on that note, I will pause. And while we're changing the tape, I'm very happy to answer some questions.
As a general rule of thumb, I've noticed that the more an organisation talks about diversity, the less it practices it. That's also true in the North American continent. You'll produce, for example, a candidate who is black, who is female, who is even disabled, you think would be ideal. And then they will be vetoed because they have the wrong political opinions. Now, of course, there are organisations closer to home. For example, I'm a member of the Conservative and Unionist Party, where you can produce someone who's black, female, disabled, no chance at all of getting on the candidates list if they have the unprogressive political opinions. So by diversity, I would put it to you that they mean the opposite of diversity. They mean uniformity, agreeing with us 100% or else.
This is a very good question. This is a very good question because it was a little area that we decided to look at. And in fact, we've got some emails where Common Purpose, what they were asked is how many people over 50 do you employ? That's what we went for, because they talk about age is no barrier. They wouldn't answer the question, how many people do you employ in your London office over 50? They wouldn't answer the question. Then the lady said that they were going to have a meeting about it and we would get an answer. And they had the meeting and we still didn't get an answer. Then it was going to go to their board, who were going to give us an answer, and we never did get an answer. Why would they be so frightened of how many people over 50 they did or didn't employ? But the other thing is that on the ground they say they are for diversity, and you do see coloured people, however you want to describe them, Muslims or whatever, involved, but the people who are within Common Purpose itself, I'm not politically correct, and if I was with some of my other friends here it would work better, but if they're coloured, of whatever nationality that means, then it is their political view that's the most important one. So you're absolutely spot on. And they're very frightened when you ask them this question.
I can answer your question about the age factor. Of course, first of all, if they are practicing age discrimination, that's a criminal offence now, which is worth examining. But there's also another point, which may sound slightly paranoid, but it happens to be true. As someone gets older, you lose many things, but you do gain one thing. It becomes progressively harder and harder to condition you. It's about the only advantage of getting older. So if your primary purpose is to condition people, the last people you want on earth to deal with are people who are getting on in years, because you have to work so much harder to actually condition them.
Another good point, and the other thing is that your age allows you to remember life before versus what it is now.
We're ready to go again. If I
Okay.
comment, don't get too hot on the ages and things, because all my staff are under 30.
Okay. Do you want to just do two more questions, just while we're waiting? Because I think there's a couple of gentlemen there.
Okay, good. Who else has got another question? We had two side by side there, so let's do two guys in one step.
As a result of your activities and the fact that you are ex-service, are you or have you been the subject of any inquiries by the government security services, and are you aware that are there any files on what you are doing?
I'm certainly aware that there are files on what I'm doing, because when I initially wrote